We're going to go to the Q&A section now. And Mark, the first one that's just come in is a very powerful one, really sort of digging into the listening gaps. So the question is, why are sales reps and sales organizations so bad? I guess that's the ugly part, at asking powerful questions. Where do you see, Mark, the listening skills of most sales reps, that probably from a competency perspective? And are we spending enough time, in airtime?
It's fear. We're all just people, right? If we take away the sales label for a second, we want to have pleasant conversations. We don't want to dig into areas that might be controversial or create friction, because that's how we're oriented as people, generally speaking. So when we're in a situation where there is this dynamic where you have a buyer and seller, and that's why I get back to this relationship dynamic, automatically the buyer's defensive, the seller has fear. And that's why we need to maybe rethink that dynamic to a teacher-student or something of that effect. So you get out of this mindset and this mental framework where there's a fear of asking maybe probing or difficult questions. The other side is just practical skills development. No one actually practices how to ask good questions. That's a discipline. That's a skill you can hone. And yes, it takes time, but you've got to be systematic. Just like anything you do in life, if you're not doing it over and over and over again and maintaining a disciplined approach to that work, then you'll never improve. And so at that side, that's where I think having a much more rigorous approach to coaching can have a huge impact, so that you can actually hear how other people ask great questions, how they respond, how they deal with objections, how they deal with different situations. And I think the science has been pretty clear from some of the studies I've looked at. When you're able to ask, I think it was 4, whatever number of questions, it was on average, most sales reps are asking less than 2 questions per sales call. If you're simply able to double that number, your ability to close that business, to create a real opportunity and to bring that prospect over to a customer, you've improved your results by 50%.
Yeah, Mark, I wholeheartedly agree with you on the the amplifying the questions. I think the stats are also is that 60% of the time in an hour should be spent on listening and asking open-ended questions. I think one of the behaviors that I see, kind of going back to the training enablement side, is ensuring that the sales professionals spend the time planning before the call, right? We kind of onboard them, we overload them with product, marketing collaterals, and off you go. And they get into the dialogue and they aren't mature enough sometimes, or the managers aren't coaching them enough. They need more time to actually prepare to develop those powerful, impactful questions that might challenge and provoke and have a deeper dialogue. The next question that's just come in is there any advice if there's a lead generation quality issue? I think we both can speak about that. So Mark, do you want to talk about the lead generation question? Again, is there any advice if there's a lead generation quality issue in terms of improving sales productivity, and what have you observed on that front? Oh, and then the person added on talking about AI, of course. So Mark, if you want to talk from just the lead generation, I can pick up the AI point on predictive lead scoring and kind of the market, and kind of dive into that segment a bit. But I welcome your comments first.
Yeah, no, love tag team on the question. I'll be really succinct here. We have too much. I know sometimes that may be kind of a scary perspective from a sales perspective. Like you want the fullness of stuff because it feels like you're being productive, but it's actually destroying your productivity and your ability to drive results. I see it right now on my team with Stack Overflow. We get a ton of inbound requests for our enterprise solution, and going through the statistics, 90% of them are never going to be customers. Wow, right? But so if we have 100 leads coming in, and we have some sales professional having a conversation with 100 of those people, they've literally wasted 90% of their time. This is where I think AI, and I'd love to have you chime in, where you think it could possibly solve this problem, but we need to do a better job on the front end, because that's hugely wasteful, and that can be spent on spending more quality time with true buyers.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting dynamics going on within the AI industry in terms of leads, whether it's analyzing the patterns outside the CRM, in terms of the conversations that might show intent to purchase. That's a particular area that we also specialize in. And you can take large data feeds, look at the keywords and relationship, and, you can correlate things there. Again, buyer beware about exactly what you're trying to do, and be clear about the problem. But there's certainly amount of data out there that AI can filter and provide some insights. The predictive scoring, where it takes the data from within the CRM that might be in the lead object, and it doesn't really matter which CRM, if companies has their leads structured, or if they're using a demand marketing gen system, whether it's Eloqua or Pardot or whatever, or Acton. The list is kind of endless there. Again, they can play a role in against their marketing priorities and sales priorities, and filtering the leads against some specific criteria. Again, the risk on just pure lead scoring is fairly mathematically flawed, because it only is, maybe if you think of a football field, the journey that you have to go on. And I know we say a better qualified lead is more strategic. However, that lead source should really be correlated across the whole data set. And because the predictive scores that come in from the lead side, in fact, can be mathematically skewed, so to speak. But if you look at the overall patterns and the journey of from a lead right to an outcome, and have that full historical data path from the full opportunity data set, it's a much richer predictive prioritization method. So, be glad to ever, if they want to follow up with us, we can talk about that further. But sometimes we're not connected to the full data history, is my main point. And we can go down paths that I call them rat holes. There were decisions are being made. They're actually mathematically and statistically very flawed. So I do worry about that side of the market. So we're going to have to move off the Q&A period, Mark, now, only because we're kind of out of time. So I'd like to thank everybody today for participating in our Predictive World webinar series. And Mark, thank you so much for joining us today. I want to highlight our next webinar, which is on November 7th, where we'll talk about mindfulness in the age of distraction, obviously from an AI perspective, but I think more fundamentally, the implications of the productivity of sales professionals. We're bringing Andrea Kiss. She's an executive coach, former Xerox sales leader, and has been involved in leading other sales organizations. And she's quite concerned about the distraction economy that we're living in. And there's limited time to reflect and renew, which obviously we know that if you don't pause, and salespeople are not very good at pausing, and that you will in fact make errors and chase new shiny objects, and salespeople often do that. So in closing out, we again want to thank Mark for joining us today. His rich experiences and stories from building up the Enterprise Sales Forum. You can contact Mark at his email below. Obviously, you can contact us. We will be sending out the video when the production team finishes it. Probably expect that in a week and a bit. It's Canadian Thanksgiving, so we won't be quite as timely as we usually are. And just thank you, everyone, for joining us. Sales Choice's Predictive AI World Series, where we encourage our community to basically help sales and marketing professionals advance We try and bring you fact-based sales discussions that can really help you grow your businesses. And if you want to learn more about AI and advanced data science methods, we have a lot of information on our website. So thank you again. And Mark, as always, thank you. Have a great day. And your learning interest, everyone, is sincerely appreciated. Have a lovely weekend. Signing off from Sales Choice.
Thanks.